is I want to talk a little bit about AI and some of our AI helpers. So one, just want to know if people had a chance to look at the syllabus or look at our proposed use of AI. And if you guys had any questions or anything bothered you or anything like that, or people were wondering about anything. If you guys didn't read it or you read it, but you're half asleep to haven't had your coffee yet, right? The basic idea is we are okay, first let me say this. Let me step back. There is no policy so I'm on a team that's developing the policy for the CSU and the UCs, but there right now is no CSU policy. There is no CSUCI policy. There is no ESRM policy. So everybody is individual. So let me just say before we do any of this, that this is our policy for DataViz. So everybody say, this is our policy for DataViz. Excellent. Because every semester, when I've been doing this, somebody goes into Capstone or whatever, and all of a sudden they start doing all kinds of stuff, and they're like, Dr. Ray said we could just do whatever we want. I'm like, whoa, dude, don't throw me under the bus like that. So the idea here is we're going to use this tool, but we want to use it effectively, right? We don't want it to short circuit our learning. We want to use this tool to be more efficient and help us with stuff. We don't want to use it to allow us to be stupid. So that's the approach. And the approach is generally, we allow you guys to use this, but we just need to be transparent. You need to tell us when you're using it. So we're going to treat this just like another colleague, right? So if you wanted to know the history of Round Mountain, Satwiwa here on campus, maybe you go talk to Riddell or one of our tribal elders, and you go, hey, because we don't have a lot of that written down. Go talk to that person. Great source of information. Give you a lot of knowledge. Give you a lot of background. Cool. And then we would cite that person. Where did the information came from? It came from this person, right? And so we refer to that type of information source when it's not like a video or a paper or whatever. We refer to that as a personal communication, right? So I talk to person X, and I just say who the person is and name the conversation, and we did it on date X, Y, and Z, right? And so that's my evidence of saying I'm showing, being transparent. I'm telling you this is where I got the information from. Okay, cool. I'm not making it up, like some people seem to do all the time that are leading our country. So what we want to do then is treat this like another source. So if you guys use it for help, we just want you guys to be transparent about it, right? Cool. Okay. So let's talk about these. So we're gonna use ChatGPT as an example for a couple reasons. One, it's the most ubiquitous one. It's what most folks use. There are many options, and also as of 2 days ago, the CSU just announced that we signed a contract with OpenAI, so that you all will have free access to ChatGPT Pro. So there's the free generic-y, base level access, which anybody could have for free. But then to have more of the power user options, to have more of the privacy options, where you could say, I don't want you to remember the stuff I'm typing in, that kind of stuff, and other things, that you need to pay for. And so as of right now, you need to pay for that. If you guys does anybody have a paid one? Okay, so what I would do is pay it this month. You already paid, so that's cool. But for next month, don't renew it, and then just log on through school, and you get the same thing for free. So I was hoping to have a link to share with you guys, but since it was just announced, the different campuses are still setting up their links, so we're probably a few days or a week or so away. But somewhere there's going to be a link in the next week or two where it's going to say, hey, if you guys want to use this. So all of them require you to establish an account, but then you just don't need to pay for it. Cool? So for this example, we'll use ChatGPT, but you're also welcome to use any large, if you have other preferences and stuff, there's many things. So yeah, cool? All right. Okay, so let's talk about, and so there's, again, lots of things. Our society is now getting real sloppy, and we're calling all this stuff artificial intelligence. We're calling it all AI. It is not. Mostly what we're talking about in this context, for your help, for the kind of things we'll talk about in our class, are these so-called large language models. So that's a particular subset of this stuff. And so let's talk about it. So this is what, so I put in a prompt into ChatGPT this afternoon, and this is what happened. So I said, quantify. So this is something that might be that we want to do in our class, right? A data visualization class. Let's be quantitative. So show me the numbers, show me the evidence, be specific, make it clear, tell me the patterns, right? Okay. So here's the prompt I put in: quantify the cost of sea level rise to homeowners, businesses, and governments in California over the last decade. And I could have just typed that, but because, maybe we're getting ready for some stuff here, I was like, okay, and also, put in-text citation in a literature cited section so I can start to, see where the evidence comes from, and I can start to look at it myself and that kind of stuff, okay? So this is what it came out. Now it doesn't fit on one screen, so we have 3 screens so you guys can read it. So I want you guys to read this. So once again, real quick, so it's, hey, tell me the numbers of the effect of sea level rise to people that own homes, people that own businesses, and governments in California in the last decade. Okay, here we go. So take it. So it might look like a lot, but just read through this for a second, and then when most people are through, I'll advance to the next one. This is the most text, this slide. So all I did was copy the output from ChatGPT and put it in here. So I didn't change anything or whatever, just to make it a little bit easier to read on the screen. Okay, so that's the first part. Here's the second part. Okay, another couple seconds and we'll jump to the next one, the almost last one. Cool, people done? Okay, and then the last little bit is just the references that it had at the end. So it gave us these 4 references. Okay, so what do we think about that answer? The prompt is quantify the cost of sea level rise to homeowners, businesses, and governments in California over the last decade. Include in-text citations in a literature cited section. yeah, it kind of like went bird or squirrel, and then it kind of like went to squirrel. Cool. What else? Or other ideas? Yeah. So definitely, this stuff is mediocre, right? It's middle of the road. I like vanilla ice cream, but it's plain, right? It's vanilla ice cream, right? It's not Rocky Road. It's not peppermint. It's not pistachio. It's nothing like that, right? So when we're naive, when we do not know anything about X, right? This is a really helpful tool to get us to start to learn about X, right? We don't know anything. And certainly this is starting us down a path, right? So that's great. But as you guys identified, so it obviously gave us an answer about stuff, right? So it gave us some, started walking us down a path, but maybe that path wasn't the right path that we want to end up on, but at least we kind of see that we're going northwards, okay? We're going to go north-ish, right? That kind of thing. So good. Other thoughts or other observations from this?
I feel like it talked a lot about the future and less about
Totally. The prompt was, how much has it cost us just recently? And the answer is, oh yeah, so by 2100, like I don't care about 2100, dude. I said, how much did we already have to pay, or did it already cost us, right? So totally. Other thoughts, other general impressions. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, so relatively limited number of sources. Yeah, totally. And so that probably, that's one of the explanations maybe why it's insurance. And all of a sudden, we're talking about insurance because one of the articles mentioned insurance or something, right? And it kind of like, whoa, or San Francisco Bay. All of a sudden it's all like, that's cool. I mean, that is part of California, but California is way bigger than just that one area, but it got stuck on that, right? I think I did a little thing here. So yeah, so this first one, if you click, it'll take you to that hyperlink that it's provided. It'll take me there, and I did a quick check, and yep, that looks like a good solid source. At least stuff, maybe not of the last decade, but like sort of introduction to sea level rise. So that would help me if I was starting this research. Oh, I'm gonna read that. Okay. Second one is also pretty good. The third one comes up with the upper corner right here. So it's behind a firewall. So there's no way for me to see it unless I pay for it. And that's not bad. I mean, sometimes great information is behind a firewall, but it just, as I'm starting my thing, I can't verify I can't go double check the numbers that it attributed to this Financial Times thing, right? It's like, I guess. And then the one below here is the fourth one, has nothing to do with sea level rise. So I read the whole article. It doesn't mention it once, right? So this is talking about the impact of our recent wildfires on potentially what it's going to do to people's homeowners insurance and stuff, right? So clearly a big issue and something, tangentially related to sea level rise. But if I'm only getting 4 references and one I can't see and the other doesn't have anything to do with what I asked for, so that gives me 2 references basically to build this off of, right? So maybe that's starting to make more sense as to why it's a little bit narrow or it's a little bit, not holistic or whatever. Make sense? Okay. So again, firstly, I would say, but this is crazy, right? I mean, I just typed in some random words and it gave me this stuff. So it is very alluring. It's very tricky, right? It's very like the sirens on the island. Come closer, come closer. I'm like, wow, you're so pretty. Boom! I hit the reef and I sink. Right. So don't get sucked into it. It's also incredibly seductive. It looks like it thought this stuff up. The wording is grammatically solid, right? It's got numbers on here that sound right. There is no thinking involved here. There's no mind involved here. It's just what we call a stochastic parrot. It's just a really, 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 really good autofill or autocomplete, right? So we're typing in our text and we start to write the word and it puts the rest of the letters to fill the word. It's just an ultra, ultra sophisticated version of that. So it might say some random stuff. It might put a number in. It might say a date or whatever. And that's not necessarily true. It's not necessarily not true, but we need to be very skeptical with what comes out of here. Again, a good start, when we know absolutely nothing, it's going to pull us more quickly up to the medium, right, up to the middle point and get us up to that sort of, a little bit past the introductory phase, but that's it. And by definition, it cannot do kick-ass writing for you. By definition, it cannot do kick-ass data set making for you. It just can't. That's not how it's built. It's built to take all of the stuff that people wrote about sea level rise and then take the average, right? That's why it's talking about 2100. That's why it's talking about 2050. Because all the groups that I work with, when we get assignments from the government and stuff, they say, give us an estimate of 2050, give us an estimate of what's going to go on 2100. So we write those reports that way, which is totally fine. But it's taking the average of all that stuff. And there might be, 15 papers about the financial costs of the last decade and 3,000 papers about 2100. And it's not smart, it can't distinguish them, so it just kind of goes, oh, sea level rise, 2100, right? And it gets there. So again, really seductive, but we got to be careful with how we use it. Make sense? And then we already talked about this, but I just highlighted one little thing here, which was, right, again, that this stuff has nothing to do with the topic. Right? Not only is it like not the right year, but it's just like, no, dude, it was sea level rise. We're not talking about wildfire, we're talking about sea level rise. And then it'll say, and we get a lot of this stuff at the bottom. You get a lot of this kind of AI jazz, particularly when we ask even better prompts. We still get available data indicates that sea level rise is already imposed significant. This is like blah, 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 blah. This is like, I don't know what to say, so I'm going to say that I studied the thing on the hill, and the hill was really covered with plants, and there was plants on the hill, right? It's like, okay. I mean, it was said more elegantly than I just said it, but it's like, okay, the deal was quantify something. Don't beat around the bush and don't go up and down the hill. Just give me the deal, and it can't, right? Because it's not thinking. Okay, all right. So next, let's do a little activity. So pull out your computers. Open any writing process, Word or whatever you want, and we're going to do a little exercise here. So we're going to do a continuous writing thing. So you guys turn your computer on, and I'm going to give you this prompt. I'll read it in a second, and then you guys are going to write just for 5 minutes. If you guys were in a disasters class, we did this yesterday too, so that's good. You guys can do it again. You guys can see if it's any better this time. It's a little bit like Groundhog Day. It's a little bit like Groundhog Day. So we're going to write this, but it'll be different after this next one. It'll be different after this one. Okay, so if you guys are stuck, if you have a summary for Dr. Spees or for me or whatever, you're just like, oh my God, I'm so tired, I don't know what to do. Just try this free write thing. So turn off the TV, turn off your radio, turn off your headphones, and just write. So but free write is you're not allowed to change anything. So you're not allowed to hit delete. You're not allowed to, backspace, arrow. Who cares how you spelled it? Who cares if I did a period? It's not. It's just barf. Barf on the keyboard, and continually. So if you're writing and you're stuck at minute 2, you don't stop and go, what did I say? You go, oh my God, I just can't think of what to write. Oh my God, I can't think of it. So you continuously write for the whole time, okay? So I'm going to start my timer. So here's our prompt. Our prompt is describe the quantitative relationship between inflation and the quantity or type of seafood eaten by Southern California residents over the last 25 years. You're like, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Who cares? Write about it. Guess whatever you think it might be. So we're talking about, inflation, how much stuff costs, and sometimes it costs more, sometimes it costs less, and then if people eat more seafood or if people eat different kinds of seafood, ready, set, go. 5 minutes. Okay, ready, set, and we'll kill it there. Okay, great. So next, I want you to turn on ChatGPT, or if you have another favorite one, you can do that. So if you haven't used ChatGPT before or any of these things, you might need to register the first time. And so I'll give you guys a minute. So you go to that site, log on, do whatever. And then once you're there, I want you to copy that text you just wrote exactly as you wrote it. Select the whole block of text. Go into the prompt box and type, please remove redundant words and phrases from the following passage and make it coherent and cohesive. And then hit return and then paste in your text below it. And hit return and see what comes out. Cool. And once you guys have, a couple people have done that, why don't you guys tell me what you think about how did it change your output?
It just sounds like a robot.
Yeah. So now it's got the right punctuation or it's got the correct spelling, and that's good. That's cool. But again, it went to the middle, right? It went to the like what the average person would type when the average person started typing those first few words in the sentence or whatever it was. And so it tends to take out our identity. It tends to take out our angle on the story or our style of writing. It makes it all, again, like a sort of, not bad, but just kind of a thing. So good. Somebody else, what did anybody else see anything different or see the same thing, or what did you guys, yeah?
But like Hill was saying, like when I read it, I just like hear a robot voice in my head.
Yeah.
So I know it's like ChatGPT. And
Yeah.
like he said, like it takes out like the personality.
Yep. William.
I actually found it rather hard because I like type
The big theme.
and so I kind of think it's interesting that it removed my thought process.
Yeah. So it was seeing that as different from what, like, the average part of the writing was going this way, and it was seeing that as a distinct thing, and so it kind of cut out the distinct thing, or the, I don't know what I want to say, the thing on a different path. It cut the other path off. Good. Other people, other thoughts?
Admire the key points I was trying to make.
Okay. Good. Anybody else have anything different than that, or any different perceptions or takes on what you got out of it?
Versi, I'm not even sure. I just know I like seafood and I like kept that. So.
Interesting. There you go. Awesome. Anybody else? So clearly there's some benefit here, right? Helping us with spelling and punctuation, and that's great, right? Also helping us, maybe if we had a big, huge thing we wrote, and then I was like, no, you guys, I want a paragraph form, right? Okay, might help us with a first stab at how we might get it down. But in and of itself, it's not perfect, right? It takes our voice out. It gets misled, focuses on one part and not the whole, or it focuses only on the whole and not the interesting facts. It doesn't. Our structured argument gagets deleted, and that, right? So useful, but useful in like editing, right? Useful in like, and there's certainly no reason why you throw this in there. And maybe it has a clever way. It gave us a clever way of saying something with one sentence. Awesome. I don't have to use all 25 lines of it, right? I can just cut out that one sentence or those 3 sentences. Oh, that's really helpful. I'm going to go with that. Or then take that and then I'll tweak that again, right? So it's like another editor, right? Now, it's not like the most brilliant editor in the world. It's kind of like a robot editor, but still, it's an editor, right? It's giving us some kind of feedback. And you all have to use your brain and kind of say, okay, good, bad, accept, reject, or is this just another path that I forked on the path, and so that's cool, and now I'm going to revise it again. That's the power of this, right? It's not to do the work for us. It's not to throw the prompt in and submit that as an assignment, but it's rather to give us a hand up, right? And some of us, are bad spellers. Some of us just, are more. We learn in different ways and we edit in different ways, and so this gives us more options. That's all it is, more options, right? I would say where this is really, it's clearly, no question, the absolute strength of this technology is in phrasing. By definition, it's got all the dudes that ever said, what would they say? How we talk about sustainable seafood. Let's say it like that, right? So I might struggle with how to phrase that. Like, should I say sustainable seafood or more sustainably harvested seafood or whatever? But it's got all the articulation of anybody that's ever said it. And so it's going to go, say it this way, right? And maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. But usually that's going to be a help, right? Oh, that's a good phrase. I like that phrasing. That phrasing is helpful, right? That's its strength. Its strength is in language, right? Not in thought, not in brain making a strong argument, but in making a well-stated sentence, right? So really helpful if you're like, I don't know how to write this thing to Dr. A. He was a total jerk in class to me, and I want to write it, but I want to tell him I didn't like what he said, but then I don't want to piss him off, and so how could I, right? This is kind of a perfect tool, right? You can just write what you want to say and then say, hey, I want to say this, but in a way that's not going to make him angry, right? Or if we have a friend that's having a tough day, I want to send a quick pick-me-up text, but I'm not sure how to do it, It really helpful for that kind of phrasing and that language and how to change the tone of something. Really, really. I don't think there's been anything ever better than this, at least as far as automated stuff without a human. So that's great. It's just not great at the logic. It's just not great at the facts and those kind of things, right? So awesome. Okay, cool. All right. So that's how we can use this stuff. But then let's talk about how we can specifically use it for our class. So try typing this one in. How do I calculate the standard deviation, I should say, of a population? Or of a sample. Say, how do I calculate a standard deviation of a sample using Excel? And somebody read off the first couple bullets so we can get a sense and see if we all have the same thing or if we have different things.
Enter your press enter.
Is that what everybody else got?
Yes.
So it's similar? Did anybody get anything differently than that?
Same meaning, different words.
Okay. The same basic idea. Type in data, A. Or like turn on computer, A, right? Open up application, B, right? Right. Okay, cool.
I got method 1, method 2.
Oh, you mean it gave you options?
I got that too.
Oh, okay, cool. Good. Did everybody get options or just some people? So raise your hand if you got more than one option. So about half of you guys got more than one option. The other half did not. Okay. All right, cool.
I also give me notes.
Why is that if you're typing the same?
Okay, so the question is, why is it? It's because it's a stochastic parrot. So stochasticity is not determinism. So determinism is, what would determinism be? Determinism is 2 plus 2 equals 4. Every single time I add 2 to 2, it's always 4 and it's always going to be 4, period. So based on the input to my system or to my model, if I give it the same input, the output is going to be the same, right? Or, I mean, it's a different number, but it's like, but you know, no matter how many times I type it, it's all going to come out as the same value. Stochasticity has variance, has variability in it. So stochasticity, maybe a lot of times when I type in this value plus this value, I get an output, but not every single time. So there's noise, there's variation, and that's how this is programmed. This is programmed to introduce error, to introduce noise into the system intentionally, because it's a creative process. And so even though we're all, is anybody using something other than ChatGPT right now? Okay, so we're all using ChatGPT, so we're all using the same system, but some of us got sort of one path, and then about half of us got sort of one category of output, and the other got another category of output. So what this is getting to is the important, and so that's really important. So that is not like Google. That is not like Google, right? So now if we typed a search, if we went to the search bar and we typed in a prompt, we're going to get differences. But we're going to get differences because of your search history. Because Google's been tracking you, and they know your phone number, and they know where you live, and they know what size pants you wear, and all that kind of crap, right? And so they're intentionally trying to zero in, like, oh, this person's an environmental person. Oh, so when they say Excel, they probably think about environmental data, and it kind of is like, it's doing like chink, 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 right? Before it gives you the output. But if we all logged on from the same address, and we all this and that, and blah, blah, and we typed, like, what are the top 5 websites for figured out how to use Excel, it'll give us the same thing, right? That is not what this world of large language models is. This world is all about the prompt. So if I tweak this, we'll get a different answer. And just like with writing, hey, take a first stab and then revise. And graphing, take your first graph and then revise your graph. Same thing with this. So oftentimes what you will find is you'll type the first prompt and it ain't going to be right. So then you want to tweak it, either tweak the wording or add additional things. So in this case, let's try this. So that was the first one. How about this one? Show me the exact steps to calculate the standard deviation of a set of numbers using Microsoft Excel. Okay, and how does that compare? Is it identical, or is it more detailed, less detailed? How did it compare to the first one we did? So we got an example now? A picture, an illustration, so maybe a little more helpful, right? I mean, maybe that was a simple prompt, the first one, so maybe you didn't need the more word, but right, all we did, we basically said the same thing, we just add a little bit of tweakage, and it gave us some more stuff. So we could do that again and say, show me a graph. Maybe I'm a visual learner. Can you show me, can you point to a video to me, or can you give me a graphical illustration of this, or can you show me a cartoon of this, or, we could go in a million different directions. The point is, start with a simple prompt, see if that gets you where you want to go. If it's not, then let's start adding things, right? Let's start adding these prompts. And we're all going to have different interests and different things as we go down our career path. You will start to figure out what a good add-on thing, right? So remember this one I said, this one was make it coherent and cohesive, right? I could have also said, make it coherent and cohesive and humorous, or ready to be submitted to a peer-reviewed journal, or a professional piece of writing that I have to give to my boss, or whatever it is. And so you guys will develop these add-ons, these tweaks, these boundary helping phrases and sentences, and save those, right? Not initially, but once you've done it a couple times, like, okay. And you can save that as your little thing, and then that becomes your library of prompts, right? So you're going to ask your regular thing, and then make sure it's free of grammatical errors, and double check to make sure the references actually exist in the real world, and or whatever those things are. And that's really where we get to the power of this, where we both get the specificity, and it's still going to be hallucinating. It's still going to take us to the medium, to the middle, but it's going to be getting better, right? It can be getting better. So it's really about what we call prompt engineering. And it's to the point now where these folks that made this technology do not understand why it works the way it does a lot of times. Like they can't I mean, it's sort of big picture, yes, but why do we get this output when I typed in this input? They're not always entirely sure. So it's really about getting comfortable with this stochasticity, with this noise, with a variable answer. And by adding these additional prompt guidances will help get it. It's like we're sailing, right? And we're making wind, right? That's what we're doing. We're like, blow this way, blow this way. But no matter what we do, we're still just blowing the boat, right? We're not actually driving the boat. So these prompts are helping us guide it more. Yeah, Dave?
What about feeding it? You fed into it.
Okay, good question.
Allowing it.
Excellent question. So the question is and now we can do this, especially if you guys have the pro version. The free version didn't used to let you do this, but now the pro. So maybe I give you an Excel file and go, hey, you guys, tell me the average and standard deviation of this population, right? And so normally what you do is you'd take it, you'd suck it into Excel, you'd type the commands and all that kind of stuff, and you get the answer, right? But you're like, dude, what if I just put this stuff in ChatGPT, throw it in there, it'll actually do it for you. Do not ever do that. It still hallucinates. So I will not identify who it is. Might be in the School of Education. I will not indicate who it is, but there was a colleague last year when we're trying to help faculty understand how they can use this stuff to help you guys, in teaching and all that stuff. And yes, I have to be careful. I don't want to identify this person. So we're talking and we're saying stuff, and then somebody said that exact question. Hey, well, what if we just, instead of asking what are the steps to do the statistics, what if I just gave it to it? And so this one gentleman and I were running it. We're like, oh yeah, that won't work. And this person said, oh yeah, it does. We were like, the what? And this person said, yeah, it does. It does all the statistics for you. It does everything. And I was like, no, I don't think so. He said, yeah, I've been doing it for the last 6 months. And I was like, wait, what? And I felt like super stupid. I'm like, wait, what? It does? Whatever. And so I should be careful. I don't want to give away who it was. But I said, oh, I'm such an idiot. I didn't think it would do that. So, okay, so next week, we're going to go work it out. And so I went back to my buddy. I'm like, oh my God, did you know this? I didn't know. Oh my God. So we tried it. It was all wrong. So we take that data, and it was like an Excel sheet or tabular data. We tried it in various ways. And we said, here's these 100 numbers, right? Whatever they were. And we're like, tell me the average. And it calculated it wrong. I mean, so it went through the steps. It used Python, it used programming language to do, intellectually all the stuff you should do, select the data and make sure they're all numbers, and then do the add, and then count how many there are, and then divide by the total number. All that part was correct, but it was screwing up the numbers. And so when we tracked it down, we're like, oh, dude, you left off 5 of the numbers.
So like a typo?
No. It just decided, F it. I didn't want to use those 5 numbers.
So
right?
It just excluded data from the data that was given. Oh.
And so then we went back and said, yo, you dropped these 5 numbers. Add these 5 numbers back. And he goes, oh, so sorry. Let me do it again. Wrong again. We said, no, can you please add them? I did. I added the 5 numbers back in.
Right.
It didn't. So the point is, and then the next week we had conversations with the person. The person's like, I use it all the time. We're like, maybe don't do that. So again, a useful tool as we're learning. Hey, how might I go about doing standard deviation? How might, but we got to do it ourselves. And it is so seductive. It looks like it's the right answer. It's got it all formatted. It said it did the math, right? Again, it tricks us into thinking it understands. It does not understand anything that we typed in. It's just doing a most probable. When someone says standard deviation, oh, that's probably this, and I should probably do this, and I should probably make the formula go like this. That's all it's doing.
By giving it to us for free?
I don't know, because they just announced it on Tuesday, so I don't know. This was negotiated, I wouldn't say in secret, but they didn't tell us about it, so I didn't we got wind of it like a week ago, right? So it wasn't like people were so we didn't ask for this. It was just
Right.
given. But I will say that here's one thing that's so like everything else in ESRM, we want you guys to be able to graph. We want you to be able to basically fly a drone. We want you to be able to count plants. All these basic skills, maybe that's not your jam. Maybe you don't want to count plants for your career, but we want you all to have these basic skills, right? And it's very clear that you're all going to need to know how to navigate this. This is like Google, this is like social media, this is like all this kind of stuff. Now, we might, for the reasons we talked about before, about inclusivity, about energy, there might be all these reasons why you choose not to do this, which is fine. But we want to make sure everybody has a basic understanding. It's very, very clear. What's going on right now, every single one of my previous institutions, all my research universities, they've paid for this for their students for last year and a half. And they've all been using it. So they're all getting very competent on it. So when they go into the job market and their employer goes, hey, do you know how to use this to help us write a weekly report? They're like, yup. And this is not like, I don't mean us by meaning CSUCI, I mean first generation populations, primarily undergraduate serving institutions. We are by and large not embracing this technology. Everybody else is running ahead. So the gap between, and I'm not saying like that you have to do this for a career, but just the basic understanding of how to use this is growing tremendously. And that's not fair, and that's bullshit. And so again, understand all the concerns that people have with using this. You do not have to use this technology, but we want to make sure you guys all have basic understanding and facility with it so that you aren't losing out to the guy from the private school because they've been paying for his free account for the last 2 years or something. So that's the spirit I believe we've entered into it. So again, like everything, there's tremendous possible downfall. There's and many of my colleagues are freaked out that you guys are not going to learn anything.
Or it's like
You mean the free Chat GPT?
yeah, like
No, they're making it free to everybody in the CSU system.
okay, how to use it. Okay.
We're always ahead here in ESRM. I'm not blowing smoke. We try to be we don't have a lot of resources. We try to make sure that you guys are competitive. It could totally go bad.
Okay.
It probably will go bad. I guarantee it'll go bad. The question is it going to go bad for 2% of us?
Right.
Or is it going to go bad for 50% of us? But again, one of the most common things that employers are saying in the last 6 months is they want you guys to be able to have basic facility with this stuff. They don't say you have to use it every single day or as your primary thing, but just like they want you to have basic ability to use Excel, basic ability to do graphing, basic ability to, that kind of stuff, they want basic understanding of this. And if nobody ever touches this because you guys are afraid someone's going to charge you with plagiarism or say you're an a-hole or say you violated the student code of conduct, I don't think it's fair to you guys. So if you guys, again, you do not have to use these tools. You do not have to use these tools. Not forcing anybody to do that. But we want to give you the option and that you guys can decide for yourselves as an informed consumer, not some silly person that just looks at some TikTok video and they say, this is how you use ChatGPT, right? Because that'll definitely F you up, right?